Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the video, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in bio section of social media accounts. I'm looking at the economic calendar for the week, and a couple things stick out. We have, let's see, we have Powell testifying Wednesday at noontime, which he's just doing his semi-annual monetary policy report before the House Financial Services Committee. So we have that on Wednesday at 12 p.m. and we have it Thursday at 9:30 a.m. and I believe it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. So two weird times. Just write that down. Wednesday 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. right at the bell. So just keep a note of that because that's going to have probably an impact on the market. So with that said, I have a few on the bearish, a few on the bullish side. We get earnings this week starting. The banks are going to start this week. Then we get some like Netflix and some of the bigger ones next week. So just keep that in mind. With that said, I'll start with Netflix. I know I have SPY up, but SPY is going to be going based off the any news or anything that comes out. But I would imagine it's just going to keep chugging up until something happens. Maybe Powell will get the market moving this week. But I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing SPY at 440 this week. Just there's nothing seeming to wanting to bring the market down. And if it does come down, it quickly recovers. So, I mean, it's just gone 120 points, almost 120 points in a year. That's just ridiculous. Well, year and a half. So, anyways, Netflix. Now, I'm looking at Netflix on the bullish side because of it likes to do a run-up into earnings before earnings kind of smashes it. So we'll just have to see if it will actually do this. So I would watch it over. I know on the hourly, you get a head and shoulders. You get the left, the head, and the right shoulders. I'm looking at Netflix reports next week. It could end up making a new all-time high in anticipation for good ER. So I would expect that. I mean, it might not, but traditionally that's what Netflix likes to do. So I would watch it over 538 for a push to, let's see, 544 is the high of the 1 hour. Then you got this 548, 550 area. That's a big number. Then you get 560. Doesn't mean as you go to 560, then you get the this area right up here at 570. Obviously 565 and 570 will be a round number to watch out for right here. Then you get this big area to 575, 580. So if it does manage to get over this 580 level, the all-time high is 593. So it could push to 600. Don't count Netflix out. Netflix could have a strong move into earnings. So I would watch for that. BA is just stair-stepping. I mean, it's right at the 20 EMA. I can't really see that. Yeah, it's above the 20 EMA on the weekly. So it held that. It could end up making a run to the 260. We'll have to see if that does happen. I would watch it over Friday's high of 240 for a push to 242, 245. Then you got the 247.50, 250 area. It does manage to get over 250 in a hole, which would be a big psychological number. You got this next area, 255, 260. So that could have a possible hard time right there. But you also have an inverted head and shoulders on the daily. You get the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. So if it does manage to do that and get over 260, it could end up taking off going to 280. So we'll just have to see. BA is just one of those stocks that sometimes it just can't get out of its own way. And if it does, it ends up losing all its gains. I remember this on Thursday. Had that strong candle, and I had BA puts on Friday thinking it was going to do like it normally does. a pop and drop, and every time it pops, like right here, pop and drop, pop, then it dropped, pop, dropped. I mean, just Netflix, sorry, BA just does that all the time. So I was anticipating that on Friday. So it is at the 20 EMA on the daily, and usually it likes to reject on the daily, but it's above it on the weekly. So it is making a higher low on the daily and the weekly. So it's possible it could end up playing that inverted head and shoulders, but I don't think it's going to get above 260 and just take off. I think if anything, it's going to get to 260 and stall out a little bit, then possibly take off. But we'll just have to see what happens with BA. With that said, next one is Shack. Now Shack. Okay, why isn't Shack? Why didn't that type up? Why did I end up typing that? I don't know. Typed it somewhere. Shack. Now Shack is just basically stair stepping up. You know, it pops, consolidates, pops, consolidates, pops, consolidates. Now it's consolidating. We'll have to see if it can get over this 107 area. We'll say 107. For push to 108 to 110, 112. What it does mean is you get over this 111 area, 112 area, which is where it broke down on the weekly. It could probably shoot to 120. So Shack could have a move above the 110, 111 area to 120. So I would definitely watch that. Win. Now, Win had a nasty little drop. Well, it's not nasty, but had a nice little drop this past week. Then it found bottom. So we'll have to see if this actually continues on the daily. So I would watch it over we'll say 115 for push to 118 to 120. 120 will be a big area to get through. Then you have the 121, 122 area. To watch out for. Then you get the 124, 125. So I'll be watching Win for a reversal. Now Win just ends up having these strong days. You can see like right here, when it does end up getting momentum behind it, it can end up making a pretty good run. Like right here, it went from 120, we'll round up 121 to 129. So I mean, it had a $8 run right there. So Win could definitely make a nice run. So I'd watch that for a bottom bounce. QCOM, I think that this could end up being, I'm surprised this hasn't taken off sooner. I mean, I really thought that this would be back to all-time highs with NVIDIA and stuff like that, but this QCOM just can't seem to get out of its own way. Maybe if it gets over 143, it could get out of its own way and end up taking off to going to 150, which is gap support, so I would definitely watch for that. So yeah, I would watch it over 145, and you get pretty much nothing really there. Not 145, 140, 142 for push to 144, 145. After 145, you get the 150 area. Then you get the gap fill right here to 160. So QCOM could be a nice play this week too. DLTR, Dollar Tree. This thing is just struggling to get over 102. It gets to, I really thought a couple weeks ago it was going to break out because it had a nice ascending wedge right here, and it looked like it had a good chance of popping and filling that gap, and it just dropped and consolidated. So the weekly still looks pretty good, even though it's like a descending triangle right here of a bear pennant. I mean, it could go lower, but Dollar Tree, I mean, it just it just makes too much money. I mean, it's going to end up going back to all-time highs. It's just a matter of when. And then you get the inverted head and shoulders on the weekly. You get the left shoulder, you get the head, and you get the right shoulder forming right here. So maybe this will be this week or the coming weeks that we end up seeing a push to 120 and making all-time highs. So, I mean, Dollar Tree, just whenever it gets really oversold like this, it ends up popping, you know. So, you know, obviously this is a earnings candle right here, so Dollar Tree could end up making a nice move. So I would watch it over, I'd say 100. You can even say 100 for a push to 101. Then 102 is the area it's been stalling out, so I'd watch that area really closely, and if it does manage to get over 102, 103, you got gap support, gap resistance right here at 103. Let's round up to 104. and you get the gap fill right here to 106, 107. So Dollar Tree could end up having a nice move if it can finally get out of its way, because I've been watching that forever. Now on the bearish side, Target just keeps going up and up and up, and the RSI on the weekly is above 80. It's just getting really, really insane. I would think that it eventually pull back some, so I would watch it underneath 247 for a push to 245, 244, 242, 241, 240. I can't imagine it's going to get down too far. I mean, Target, when it does end up dropping, it doesn't usually go that far. I mean, this went from 192 to 160. Okay, it went down almost 30 points right there, but I can't imagine it's going to get much below, lower than 230, maybe even down to 215. So you get the RCT trend line right here, which is down at the 200 level. So yeah, I mean, maybe it could come back down. Whenever these things get too far away from it, it likes to come back and retest it. I just don't know if Target will make that kind of a drop. I mean, we've seen it in the past where we had like Roku and Baidu and stuff like that, where they're so disconnected. I think Nvidia did the same thing. I'll have to pull up Nvidia to see if that NVDA, forgot the A. Yeah, see, it got away from it a little bit and it came back, but now it's really away from it. We'll have to see if that does that too. But Target is one of them. Now Disney is another one. Disney, I keep looking at this, the Head and Shoulders on the weekly. It's still there. It's still working now. I know that Disney had a last couple good days. It just cannot get over this 178, 177.50 level. 178, you can round up if you want. This RCT trend line on the daily just acts as resistance, and it rejects it. Now we'll have to see if it actually rejects it this time. If it does, I think it's the earnings for Netflix could end up having an impact on Disney. So we'll have to see how that plays out next week, not this week coming out. But I think that we could end up seeing a rejection. So I would watch it underneath 170. Can go 176.50 or 176 for a push down to the 174 area, 173, 172. Then you get this. We get this 172 area. You got 170, and the do or die for Disney has been this 168 level. Now, if it does manage to get below the 168, which is where the RCT trend line is, I mean, you got a gap right here to fill down to the 150. So I don't know if Disney will do that. We'll have to see. Now, Baba is another one. Now, Baba, the weekly, it just goes up to the 20 EMA middle Keltner channel, rejected here. So it's had this big sell-off right here, and it had a dead cat bounce right here. It filled the gap. So we'll have to see if it actually does have downside momentum. I would watch it underneath, we'll say 205 for a push to 200. And if 200 does manage to not hold, that you get another area right here down to the 190. We'll say 194, 195, then 188, 190 area. Then you get this 180 area right here. So I don't imagine it's going to get too far below the 180. I mean, I would think by now that it would just end up breaking this descending wedge right here. I mean, you can see it right there, tightening up. So I mean, it could bounce right out of the wedge, but just because it's these descending wedges or descending triangles right here, they're usually bullish when they break out, but sometimes once in a while they do manage to go lower even in a descending wedge. So we'll have to see that. I think that if the Baba keeps having issues with the government, that it could end up going down to 180. So we'll have to see if that happens. Now this one, I don't think I've ever traded STMP. I know I had news on Friday and it had a massive gap up. Every time we have these big massive gap ups on news, that they end up just selling off the next day. I mean, look at BIIB. I mean, it did the same thing. It had this massive gap up, then it just faded. So I mean, I'm thinking STMP. Now I remember this stock. I remember it was trading like a 200 area, and it had bad news. I think this was it right here, where I think, if I remember correctly, I might have even traded. I don't think I've ever traded STMP, and if I did, I think I did right here. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure if I've ever traded it or not. If I have, it's only been once. But anyways, remember right here, the U.S. Post Office said that it was no longer going to use its stamps or something like that, or this company, and it just took a massive nosedive, and all of a sudden it rebounded. Then I had this news on Friday. I can't remember what it was, but I'm thinking the same thing's going to end up happening. At a double top on the weekly, it's just going to fade. I just think it's going to have a nice fade. Now, I don't know what the options look like on this. The options may not have no volume. They maybe have nasty spreads. I might have to short it via commons, and I don't even know if it will be hard to borrow or not. I'll have to see when that time comes, but I would definitely watch this for a fade underneath 320. It gets underneath this 320 area. It's got a long ways down. I'm not saying the swing holds short to 220. I mean, I think it could definitely see 300, which will be a big psychological number, but I'm definitely watching this. This would be one of my top watches this week. I don't know if I'll go options or commons, or I might not even be able to do both. It could be hard to borrow. I might not be able to get any shares to borrow, whatever. I don't know. But next one is Lululemon, LULU. Now, I know that this thing has just been going crazy, and in the weekly, you get a triple top. So we'll just have to see. It just has made a nice run to 300. I would think that it would need to pull back a little bit here. I mean, it is showing a little bit of a bearish divergence on the daily and the weekly. So I would watch it underneath, I would say, the 375 area for a push to 372 to 370 to 265, 260. I don't even, it's been a while since... Yeah, it's been a while since they've had a nice red weekly candle, so we could end up seeing 350 or so on that. You can also see the RCT trend line is down at the 337 area. I'm not saying it's going to go to 337, but you can definitely see 360, possibly even 350 this week if it does manage to get some selling momentum on LULU. So that's going to do it for the watch list. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hope to see you in the room. And thanks for watching.